champs. Yes, sir. We're world champs. You make that play. We're world champs. You make that play. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to Rams Talk Radio. This is Derek Ciapala checking in as part of our tour around the league. It continues. Seahawks today, guys. Seahawks. We're going to talk with Christopher Kidd from the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. You know how this goes, or maybe you don't. We've been doing this on and off for years. We try to do it every year, and of course, as time goes on and I get older, it gets hard to get all 32 teams in. We're trying. So it works like this. I get a podcaster on from another podcast, and then from each team, I try to represent them. They talk about where the team is, where they've been, where they're going, how the roster shakes out, how the draft, all that stuff. And they give us, our fan base, kind of a preview of what to expect from the season. It's a great way for us to kind of get in the heads of our opponents and to understand where they are. It's always fun for me. We typically record these right after the draft and get them out to you throughout the summer. So there may be a couple small changes. If there's anything major, I usually will go back and re-record it if I can. And so without further ado, I want to get into the Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks with Chris Kidd over at the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm here with Christopher Kidd from the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. I kind of have to wear the humble pie because it's the first time I've had a conversation since the season, and, well, we know how this all ended. Congratulations on your Super Bowl win out there, sir. I'm sure it was fun to cover through the year. How are things?
Things are really good. I want to make this clear. I am not a Seahawks fan. I am happy when they win because it makes our show more entertaining. Because when we're breaking down losses, the fans don't want to hear about why they lost. They want to hear about the victory. So while they did win a Super Bowl, that was fun to cover pretty much and watch the game and talk about it. And I know a lot of our supporters of Seahawks Man-to-Man were really excited that this team won. So for all the Rams fans, I know it was a tough one, but more battles to come. You guys have a really good roster and have actually improved defensively because that was the weak part of your defense last year in the secondary. Seahawks attacked that. You got some two solid corners coming in that can really make a difference. Now JSN has put himself at a new level. Can the defense adjust and make things difficult for him? And then Devontae Adams hamstring injuries. We can go on and on about what went wrong with the Rams, but I'm expecting another epic 3 games where it comes down to the last minute because I think these two teams will probably be back in the NFC Championship game, and obviously they play twice a year. But yeah, it's been a fun experience doing the Super Bowl and all the way up leading up to it. So yeah, very, very fun season. And it had to have been a fun season for you too, Derek.
It was more fun when they actually won it. Like you said, it means something, even if you're not a fan. It means something when you cover all the way through from start to finish, like all the way. Like there is something valuable to it, even if you're not a fan of the team. I'm looking at the Seahawks now, and I know there are some changes there. I want to get your take on it. This was a Super Bowl roster, Super Bowl defense, was a young team. How do you describe the changes, both coming and going, for the Seahawks entering 2026?
So that's an interesting question because for the most part, you lose your OC and Clint Kubiak, who was the mastermind behind the offense. You lose some key players in that offense, right? K9, that was a tough loss. A lot of Seahawks fans aren't seeing the light in terms of what could become of J.D. Price. Zach Charbonnet's knee got banged up. You lose Kobe Bryant to the Bears. You don't even try to bring back Rick Woolen, who's now with the Eagles. There's just a lot of movement. But the Seahawks are confident in their messaging and what they do and how they handle business. And Mike McDonald is the forefront of that. And they look to him as a leader. So with that being said, while all these changes, they might be a little difficult, might be different in terms of the consistency that you saw last season with Kobe Bryant, even Rick Woolen, even though he was switching in and out of the lineup with Josh Jobe, they now believe in the next guy that's supposed to step up to the plate, whether it be some of the rookies, whether you're looking at Josh Jobe taking the next step, Nehemiah Pritchett, a guy that was pretty much the fourth cornerback. And I don't know if you saw that Arizona game where he had arguably the greatest PBU I've ever seen, where somehow, some way he knocks the ball out of Marvin Harrison's hands for a big touchdown on fourth down. You have guys that are in the mix. And as I mentioned, their draft class, they do have some DBs that are coming in that can maybe be splash guys, but we won't know that until training camp. OTA, you don't really get to see much, but training camp, you're going to see, okay, what is this team, what is this defense looking like? Because the offense, I think, will be fine. As long as Sam Darnold plays how he played in the playoffs, no turnovers, I can't see how this team can't be back in the position to play for the NFC Championship game for a Super Bowl. But the new offensive coordinator and Brian Fleury, that's going to be pretty interesting. But for the most part, he's coming in and he's stating that I'm not going to change much. What they've done was successful. I'm going to come in. Yeah, I might have a few different things, but outside zone, check. Elite wide receiver, check. Quarterback, check. Offensive line, much better. I can work with that. So while there might be new faces in new places, Mike Macdonald's going to make sure these guys are ready to play week 1 against the New England Patriots. And it should be, I'm hoping, an opportunity for them to remind everybody just how good they are defensively, how good Sam Darnold is as a quarterback, even though I know a lot of people would point to that game against the Rams, the second matchup where he threw 4 interceptions. That first matchup, he threw 4 picks, and a lot of Seahawks fans are saying, "Oh, the Rams got lucky." Okay, well, here's a new season. I know they don't play the Rams till late in the season, but those games will be magnified because, for all we know, the Rams and Seahawks could be 14-0 at that point. They both could be really dominant, and that game will mean so much more. So when you ask me, all the changes, I don't know if the changes will affect the team, right? Because they believe in Mike Macdonald and what he's instilled in them as a team, and they're accepting the challenge as not repeating champions, but we're starting from scratch, and we have a goal to win a Super Bowl.
Explain to me the mentality of letting Kenneth Walker go. I mean, he was such a heart for this team for several seasons now, and a guy who really showed up at the end. I'm trying to understand letting him go.
That's always a fun one because a lot of fans don't even understand it, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around why they let him go. I think for the most part, the Seahawks weren't willing to pay him because the running back position nowadays, you can just go and grab a guy. Literally, draft class, you can go and draft a kid. That's how some teams operate, and the Seahawks feel that way. And I think for the Seahawks moving forward, it's just an opportunity to let some of these young guys come into the mix. Now, for me, I think they could have easily paid him. But when you look at the economy for running backs, it's devalued. Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley are your superstars. And even then, they're not consistent and healthy enough. Although Christian McCaffrey, I think, played a really fine season last year. And Saquon Barkley, if I'm not mistaken, he was okay too. They just couldn't run the ball effectively. I know injury concerns were a big thing with Kenneth Walker. Last year, they did something completely different. They basically managed him on a pitch count. He wasn't the star one running back. He was RB1/RB2. Zach Charbonnet would get a boatload of the carries in the red zone or in that area. And that was kind of head scratching to me, but it worked out. Kenneth Walker played every single game this past season, and he was productive in the Seahawks playoff run. And when you look at the new offense, they're going into a different realm, right? But I don't see why they couldn't have kept K9. I thought they should have. And then they also went to the draft. So they figured, we're not going to want to pay this guy all this amount of money. Not to say that they couldn't, because the Seahawks could have definitely paid Kenneth Walker. They just decided not to. And you look at the depth of all the running backs the Seahawks have, they're probably thinking one of these guys could pop. we're going to draft a running back, and they did with J.D. Price out of Notre Dame, who has not been a starter, right? But he's fresh. He has a lot of talent, and John Schneider thinks that this guy can fit right in. Not to mention, you look at the Seahawks roster, the one thing that's improved is that offensive line. So I'll be honest with you, maybe they're thinking, you know what? We can go get Derek and Chris to run the football. The offensive line will be much better. And that's a tall task. That means you're going to be one of the best O-lines in the league. But they went from going into the 2025 season, everyone thought they're going to be below average, if not bad. And they were, I would say, above average to good, which got them to the Super Bowl. I know Anthony Bradford gets a lot of hate, or people always talk about how the bad plays come up. You can do that with every player. Anthony Bradford's a fine starter, but he, again, this offseason, he's going to have to fight for his spot yet again. And when you look at Seattle spending money elsewhere, that's why I mentioned the offensive line, because they paid their left tackle and their right tackle. They paid some pass rushers, not to mention their corners. They paid other core young players, and they didn't see Kenneth Walker in that light. And as explosive as he is, the Seahawks felt otherwise. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, because, again, they could have easily kept him. They had the money. They just went elsewhere. Offensive line, pass rush, cornerback room. They divvied that money. I mean, they paid Rashid Shaheed a nice little contract, which I didn't think would happen, but he got his money's worth, because I thought the Seahawks should have paid him after he basically won them the game in week, I want to say 15 versus the Niners. I was like, yeah, pay him. This is like when that game was over, there should have been a contract on his locker to extend him right then and there. That's how pivotal he was. Now, it took them to the offseason. They got it done. That's great. But I thought they should have got ahead of that. So to answer that, why they let him go, I think it was money. I think it was their belief that they have other guys that can come in and fill that void. And that's what it comes down to. Either they're going to be right after this 17-game gauntlet, or they'll be wrong. And everybody's going to be like, oh, man, K9's, had his best career since this past season. That would be a sting. If K9 goes to Kansas City, has 1,500 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 receiving touchdowns, and 400 receiving yards. Seahawks fans are going to be like, that was stupid. Not to mention, maybe the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl now and the Seahawks are bounced. That would have been a good opportunity, a good rematch, because they do play the Chiefs in week 5 or 6, I want to say, this season. So I think a combination of things led to Kenneth Walker being released, and contract not wanting to pay him is high on that list.
When you're looking at this team's draft class, you mentioned they got running back. How did that draft class help fill some of those gaps that you mentioned earlier?
So I think for the most part, I don't know if it'll fill the gap. For instance, J.D. Price, he really could be really good, or he could just be okay. I won't know until training camp. We can all talk about, oh, he's going to be the next blah, 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 blah. We won't know a bunch about him until he gets the pads on and he gets to moving. Now, the tape looks good. He's shown that, okay, he's ready for the next level. But when you get up there with them 300-pound D linemen and them linebackers that are 225 to 250 and they're trying to kill you, it changes. So I will learn more. I do think Bud Clark, the safety out of TCU, he might be someone to keep an eye out for. To be honest, I think they hit on their first 4 picks. So the first 4, you got Jadarian Price, running back out of Notre Dame. You got 64 overall, Bud Clark, the safety. Julian Neal, I think he is going to be he does this. He has a mouthpiece. So I'm hoping he backs it up with his play. And he's an interesting one because he's a cornerback, but he can probably play some safety. They can probably use him like they did Nicky Memori, move him all around the secondary. Not that he can play linebacker, but that's his style. Like, he is really good. Same as Bud Clark. So when I look at those 3 to 4 guys, not including Bo Stevens, who I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about Anthony Bradford's going to have to fight for his spot, well, he's going to go up against Bo Stevens. So those 4 guys are the core dudes that I'm thinking will have to have some type of impact. Maybe not so much Bo Stevens. I think potentially Anthony Bradford could win that position. So we'll go 3. So Jadarian Price, the running back, Bud Clark, the safety, and Julian Neal, the cornerback. And my apologies, Julian Neal, strictly cornerback. Bud Clark is the safety that can do a little bit of everything. And I think that is key because what did the Seahawks lose? Kobe Bryant. And when you go back and watch the tape on Kobe Bryant and what he does, phenomenal tackler. He takes away a lot of the deep shots over the middle of the field. So sometimes when you're watching a game and you're watching the broadcast, let's say, and you're wondering, damn, why is the quarterback holding the football? He got sacked. Well, that's because if you're playing the Seahawks, Kobe Bryant did a really good job of knowing where you want to go with it and taking it away. So you have to hold the football. And then, as I mentioned, he's a good tackler. I would say I should have pulled it up beforehand, but Kobe Bryant was phenomenal at run stuffs. I'm talking, he's coming up 17 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he is bringing down running backs. Bam, just like that. Like he had a nose for the football. And Bud Clark's going to be asked to do probably some of that. So filling the void is going to be tough. And then not to mention Ty Okada, a guy that played really well last season. He's going to get his opportunity. So it's really about these young guys stepping up to the plate. They're given this opportunity because some players they just didn't re-sign with the Seahawks and signed elsewhere, right? So now they have the opportunity to step up to the plate. Not so much JD, he was drafted here. So I wouldn't put that on him in terms of stepping up, but they believe that he can be the starter. And Zach Charbonnet, I do not believe will be ready week 1. I think he'll probably be ready probably mid-October. So what's that, week 5 or 6? Probably week 6 will probably be healthy, and they'll probably give him a full load. But I would expect JD Price and maybe Kenny McIntosh. We'll see how that shakes out. But overall, when you look at this draft class, 3 guys for sure: Jadarian Price, Bud Clark, Julian Neal. They're going to be asked to do quite a bit. And Julian Neal, his talking is going to have to back up his game, because everyone can talk, but when you get out there against them dudes that run 4.3 and are elite at route running, it'll be a challenge for him. So hopefully he finds his mix. And if not, maybe Nehemiah Pritchard, the guy that I mentioned is the 4th cornerback out in that room, maybe he steps up and becomes that 3rd slot, because there is no week 1. It's Josh Jobe, Devin Witherspoon, and now it's kind of up for grabs. Those are your core starters right there.
How do you feel about the schedule overall and how it breaks down?
Man, I love the schedule, but damn, do the Seahawks have a tough one, man. That they are going to be tested throughout the season. Matter of fact, let me pull up their schedule again, because I'm looking at it thinking like, God damn. They have a stretch of, let me see, where did I put it? The Seahawks got the Chiefs. So here we go. They got the Chargers, the Niners, Broncos, Chiefs, and Bears. So week 4 through 8, oh my gosh, that's tough. They're not going to, everyone knows who they are. They're not they surprised us with this elite defense and Sam Darnold playing good football. No, this team is going to be challenged. I look at those 4 games right there, I think, or 5 games, excuse me. That'll tell you a lot about this team. I think they will end up doing really well. I think they're going to beat the Chargers. I think they'll beat the Niners. I think they'll beat the Broncos. I do think they might lose to the Chiefs, but I think they'll beat the Bears. If they ain't come out of that stretch 4-1, how could you be mad as a Seahawks fan? So I think for this overall, the schedule, it's a challenge, but I think it's a good challenge, right? This is what you want. You're the best of the best. You're going to play the Eagles late in the season. You're going to play the Rams twice late in the season for all the marbles. So I look at this schedule as, all right, this is what you guys wanted, and now you're at the top of the mountaintop looking down at everybody. Can you maintain that? And a good opportunity to do so is starting that week 1 against the New England Patriots, who are looking for revenge after they got their butts kicked on national television in the Super Bowl. So I think for the most part, this is a great schedule for the Seahawks. It's a gauntlet. And also, my boy Mike Dugard mentioned, just look at the coaches that they got to face, man. Like, they're facing 8 coaches that have played in or won a Super Bowl. Some dudes that know some ball, not including Mike McDonald, obviously, because he obviously won. But the level of coaches that they're going to face, I think, is just going to be so tough. But I think they'll manage and be fine. I'm just excited for the season to start, man. Here we are in, what is it, May 17th, and it feels like just yesterday they won the Super Bowl.
See, I got to push back a tiny bit, because I would take your schedule over the Rams schedule any day. Any day. You seen the Rams schedule from November 25th on?
Yeah.
Oh my! Their playoffs start in week 12. Like, Like then they had the early season rush too of opponents, but I mean, I look at your schedule going, that's tough schedule. That's tough schedule, but darn, I would. You guys have those gaps going here and there. The Rams, they have their lighter opponents kind of in a row.
Yep.
And they face the two gauntlet stretches. And I'm sitting there thinking, if the Rams are going to make it all the way through, they have to be on their game come November 25th all the way. Like they have to be, and they're going to have to maintain that all the way through December into January. And my only pause I can think of it, and I think this goes for Seahawks too, because they put the Rams Seahawks game so late in the year.
Yep.
What happens if both these teams just work their way through the schedule and those last couple of games are meaningless or close to meaningless?
Well, I guess we have a new division leader, won't we? Probably be the Niners in that sense, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think it's Rams and Seahawks all the way. They're the best rosters. They have the best coaching, some of the best players. While, yeah, you have a gauntlet, I just looked at it. I could easily see you guys splitting with the Seahawks, beating the Rams, beating the Chiefs, beating the Cowboys, beating the Bucks. And that's just me right now. Like, I'm obviously, it's a long season. Players get banged up. We know how that goes, but I don't see. I understand your concern, but I think the Chiefs would be like the only game where like I can guarantee a loss. Outside of that, you're beating the Packers, you're beating the Niners, you're beating the Cowboys. Again, split with the Seahawks, and you beat the Bucks. So
I'm actually relatively confident for the Chiefs.
You are?
Believe it. Oh yeah. Why? The Rams went and got their two starting corners. Think those corners don't know Mahomes?
Yeah.
I'm fairly I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm pretty confident compared
to even make it better. So, what game do you have them losing outside of the split with the Seahawks? So, that's how many games is that? One outside the Seahawks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So they split with the Seahawks. Out of those 5, who do you see them losing to? If you think they've beaten the Chiefs,
so well, it's not. You see, that's the thing. I can look at, and this is a respect thing. Okay. I really respect how the Seahawks have done things under Mike Macdonald. They're consistent. They do everything right. If there's a problem with how the Rams do things, is they're not always fundamentally there. And so there is going to be, some apprehension in terms of, well, we expect them to be, 1-2 losses coming into December. But they do dumb things far more than the Seahawks do. Look at last year's first Carolina game. Look at the Atlanta game. And a lot of that was just poor fundamental play. So when I look at the schedule right now, I can go, okay, I'll take the W with the Niners, take the W with the Giants. Go to Denver and Philly the next 2 games. They're going to lose one of those. Those are 2 Super Bowl contenders right there. Denver more than Philly. Buffalo at home, I think they'll beat Buffalo. I think they'll beat the Cardinals. I think they'll beat the Raiders. Now you got the Chargers. Commanders, I'm iffy about. Okay, then that stretch comes, right? Packers, Chiefs. Packers always give them problems, and it's on a Wednesday night. Go to the 49ers. I think they'll lose one of the 49ers. So split that.
Okay.
Dallas gives them problems. So, like, I see that and I go, I see more potential for losses based off of how they have been as a franchise. Whereas I respect the Seahawks and I believe you guys play stronger fundamental football. I'm hoping that with the addition of those corners you mentioned earlier, that it's a different story come this season. Like they are able to play better. But the Rams make mistakes sometimes that make you go, oh, seriously? Really?
Well,
you did that? And I didn't see a whole lot with the Seahawks this year. Watched a lot of Seahawks football.
It starts with coaching, right? The Seahawks for years, not to say Sean McVay is like not good enough because he is, but I think he has to get the right guys in there too. And that's what Mike Macdonald had to do. He had to get the right guys because prior to this past season, the Seahawks always had games where they lose to teams where you're just like, what? They lost to who on Sunday or what happened? They had that every season. We can go back and look at each schedule like, oh, that was the backup that beat him. Oh, that running back ran for 200 yards that game. Oh, that receiver had 10 catches for 99 yards and 3 touchdowns. They had, prior to last season, they had a team do that to them. Last year, that wasn't the case. They lost week 1 to a good 49ers team. No one had an issue with that. Other than Reek Woolen not covering a tight end. That was the biggest thing, but it's like, okay, that happens, whatever. On to the next game. Week 5, they get their teeth kicked in by the Buccaneers, who were playing their best football of the entire season. Never got to that point again, obviously. The Seahawks were missing pretty much their secondary. I will admit that much. Not to make an excuse for it, but that's why they gave up 40-plus points, and guys are running down the field and they're catching bombs. And then they lost to the Rams. Those are 3 good losses. Like, if you had to rank them, it's like, oh, you lost to 3 playoff teams, right? Whereas to your point, the Rams are losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. And granted, the Panthers made the playoffs, whatever. They shouldn't be losing those type of games. I think this year that might be the difference, right? I think the Seahawks are going to come with that same mindset. I look at their easy team that they play, they're going to smoke them. Their defense is too good. I think the offense is only going to improve. I don't see Sam Darnold taking a major step back or anything. The running back situation might be a little finicky for the first couple weeks just because I don't know if J.D. Price is going to be that guy, but I don't see the offense going completely backwards in that terms. And I think for the Rams, I think it's just getting over the hump against those teams that they should beat. And I think they got that out the system last year, losing to teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And this year it's an opportunity to, hey, you know what? We did lose the Seahawks in week 16. We'll see them again at the end of the year. We got it. It's a great game. We know what they're about. They know what we want to do. Blah, 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 blah. You know how that coach beat goes. So I think that'll be the Rams' step to improve. Getting those ugly losses out. You don't want to lose to the Saints. You know, that not saying that they did, but that's the type of that should be a guaranteed win. It's not. And the Seahawks shouldn't have that.
The Cardinals should be guaranteed wins. The Raiders game should be a guaranteed win. Yeah. You know, but and I don't see there's nobody in the schedule that I look at and think, okay, I don't see the Raiders giving either team, the Seahawks or the Rams, a problem. I don't see the Cardinals,
and they shouldn't. And they should
give them problem.
Nope. They don't have a quarterback, so they're in.
I mean, you ain't got to let you want to count Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback, but poor Jeremiah Love killed in his first year. Poor guy. All right, Chris, can people know where you can find all your work?
You can find me on Seahawks Man to Man. That is on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So if you're curious about what's going on with the Seahawks, me and my friend, my boy Mike Dugar, who covers the Seahawks via The Athletic, we do really cool and fun work on this team, watching film, breaking it down. So in case listeners are wondering, like, oh, what's going on with this play? We take our time out and take a look at that. So yeah, Seahawks Man to Man on Instagram, TikTok. That's Seahawks Man to Man, spelled just like it sounds. But we do the number 2. So instead of TO, it's 2. Seahawks Man, 2 man. So if you're interested in what's going on with your NFC West rival, pop on over to Seahawks Man to Man. That's on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for your time. I suspect we'll be talking again late in the year.
Yes.
Maybe 3 times.
I would, ladies and gentlemen, if you got money to spend, go to your nearest bookie and gamble. Go put $100 on that happening because I think they'll be playing 3 times for a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
There you go. And there you have it. What do y'all think? I'm skeptical. Not that they won't be good. The Seahawks will be very good this year. They will compete with the Rams for the division title, 49ers as well. I have question marks relating to losing Kenneth Walker. That's big. That's your Super Bowl MVP right there. It's a big part of the running back position, a big part of their offense. They have one of the best receivers in the game. They have a solid offensive line. I mean, they're going to be great. But can they do what other teams in recent memory have not done, which is repeat? There's always kind of that Super Bowl, what's the word? Hangover? Super Bowl hangover. And when that happens, who knows? Injuries. Are you going to repeat last year's minimal injuries? They did lose. They lost a running back last year to major injury, but besides that, they stayed pretty healthy. What happens if JSN gets hurt? What happens if your quarterback gets hurt? What happens if your left tackle gets hurt? They stayed pretty healthy last year. Can they do it again? I don't know. He seems pretty happy with the fan base out there. if you talk to them online and they do, they're obnoxious. I know guys are obnoxious. That seems to be a thing that they're going to be fine. I think they'll be fine, but will they stay on the throne? I guess we'll find out. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying our transition to YouTube. I know it's still work for us old guys to figure all this stuff the young guy do well, but I hope you are enjoying it. Subscribe, please, at Rams Talk 5900 on YouTube. Of course, we're on X at Talk Rams. Don't forget, it's part of the Blue Wire Network. They're big supporters for us. We love working with them. Don't forget to check out the rest of their podcasts. Follow me on X at Ciapala. Until next time, we're out of here. Have a great one.